Exactly 30 minutes after 7, you're still watching the AM show. Send us your comments via WhatsApp 0560 800,000. With 21 days more to the 2016 presidential and parliamentary elections, the law courts have seen individuals, indeed, some political parties approach it with one electoral matter or the other. And that's why our conversation next is really important. The Judicial Service of Ghana has reviewed, updated, and printed a third edition of the Manual on Election Adjudication. Joining me for this conversation is Gifty Prekonyako, who is Acting Deputy Director, Judicial Reforms and Project, Judicial Service of Ghana, and also our own Samson Ladi Ayenini. You know very well, he's a lawyer. Good morning to you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being here. Let me start with you, Gifty, or maybe Samson. Samson, why is this so important? Why is this book, a manual on election adjudication in Ghana, so important, particularly around this time?
It's very, very important. It is central to ensuring that the elections are peaceful, that the elections are credible, and you know that to have a credible, peaceful, free and fair elections is a shared responsibility. And because of that, the judiciary has always played a central role. And by that role, the Honorable Lady Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Theodora Georgina Wood, has always made sure that there is a one-stop shop for all the critical and important laws that relate to elections and election adjudication, dispute adjudication. And this is what has culminated in this rather voluminous third edition, but very nice and very handy and very friendly. You would realize that the Chief Justice on the 24th of October at the Chief Justices Forum, which is an annual event, but this year's was dedicated to the role of the judiciary in peaceful elections, and which was held at the Labadi Beach Hotel. You had chiefs, you had politicians, you had civil society organizations, you had judges, lawyers, all you can think about attending. And what the Chief Justice said at that occasion was that elections, even though are supposed to be a fanfare, are not, particularly in our part of the world. In our part of the world, elections have not been limited to the contestation of ideas and to determine who has a superior idea and to vote for them. It has always, often, had a feature, as a feature of it, disputes, differences that generate into disputes, that generate into violence, unfortunately. And when these things happen, it is a judiciary that is called upon to do what you may call a rescue situation. They come to rescue the situation. And you would know very well that just last week, it took the Supreme Court to rescue the electoral calendar from getting into all of us into a constitutional crisis, a constitutional crisis that the Electoral Commission chairperson herself was afraid of and had come to court to say that she was afraid that if the suits continued, we were heading for a constitutional crisis. It took the Supreme Court to pull the plugs and say, this is where we stop. All the other matters pending in the High Courts, they've been suspended. Now, at this forum that I referred to, all the individuals that met, the security and all the other organizations that came together, put their views together and gave contributions as to how to improve the process, particularly by the role that the judiciary has to play. Now, because this is done every year, the views are collated and they are used as providing actionable steps to improve the process. So this is very important, Mama V, not only to you, but to everybody, not only to judges and lawyers, but to everybody.
Because I was just going to say that most of us are not lawyers. Why should we even care about this?
Because when you read this, you get to know your rights as a voter, number one. When you read this, you get to know your rights, your responsibilities, and also the offenses that when you commit, particularly say on election day, and when you commit them, what may happen to you, right? So it's very good that we should have it. You know how to challenge the electoral officer correctly. The electoral officer also will know his or her duties, and because you know them, when they try to prevent you unlawfully, you can make a correct challenge by referring to the law. So that's why this is very important to everybody.
Yeah. So Gifted, this is the third edition. You've had the first, the second. Why a third one?
A third one because with time, everything changes. We are all aware of what happened in 2012 and in 2013 with the challenge of the opposition party of the election results in court. The Supreme Court made very specific decisions, and it changed the face of elections in Ghana. Apart from that, we will all agree that between 2012 and now, a lot of decisions have been made at the court when it comes to elections from various angles, and this year has seen the climax of it. Almost every month there's one thing or the other in court. And these decisions have informed the review because things are no longer the same. The penalty points for election offenses have been reviewed. There are new constitutional instruments on elections, the CI 91, the CI 94, and all of it has culminated into the fact that we need to update what we did in 2008 and what we did in 2012 so that it becomes a current document that can be used for this election and beyond.
We've crossed, some say we've crossed, if you like, a bigger hurdle, but should we still expect that even when we are really close to election day and on election day proper, we'll still see cases in the courts related to the elections?
Donald Trump's campaign filed an election challenge suit on the day of elections in the US in the state of Nevada. A judge sat within hours and determined preliminarily that they didn't have a case and threw them out. That is the justice system. Anybody can go to court any day. We know Hassan Ayaga has threatened to go back to the court and all. So all things may happen. Just yesterday, the Supreme Court had to make a determination on an election issue. Dr. Mankotufo had been to the court together with two others, asking that the special votes that will be cast on the 1st of December ought to be declared at the same day, because that's what the Constitution requires. Well, the Supreme Court gave a lot of clarity on the matter, that it doesn't think that you have to do it that day. You have to still keep them and declare them on 7th of December. So matters may come. And now there is an elections task force at the Judicial Service, chaired by Justice Doche. You have Justice Badegbe, you have Justice Sir Dennis Ajay, who are all on it. And these are eminent jurists, you know. And then you had very eminent personalities when it comes to constitutional law in this country. In fact, they are foremost when it comes to constitutional law in this country. I'm talking about Dr. S.Y. Bimpombuta. I'm talking about Professor Sir Komado, you know, Kofi Komado of the University of Ghana. They came together, put all of this together. And like Gifty mentioned, you know, new laws have come.
Yeah.
All of them. The very salient and important portions are in here. Also, you know, some of the laws, in the way they come black and white, need some explaining. And because of that, like Gifty mentioned, matters have gone to court. The courts have made clarifications. What they have done in this manual is to also reproduce portions, digest portions of these decisions, to help you not to only read the black and letter law, but to have the background, to have a better appreciation.
Okay.
The questions of the Abu Ramadan line of cases about the ID card and all of those things, the NHIS card and all of those things, they are properly captured in here. And like she mentioned also, in 2010, we passed a law that is called the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act. There's a portion that has been also properly explained here to allow for room when disputes come, not to perhaps be in a hurry to run to the court, but to be able to use alternative dispute resolution to sit among ourselves and to resolve them. And I'm talking about the political parties that normally get into these issues, to be able to resolve them. When you resolve issues through ADR, we have what we say, the principle is that you have a win-win situation. But when you go to court, you have a win-lose situation. And you know how tensions can rise when there's a win and there's a loss.
We haven't seen a lot of the ADR.
Yeah, so that's why this promotes also. But this will help a lot more the judges and the lawyers who are supposed to go to court. They find everything here one-stop shop, and they deal with matters with dispatch. Already you have seen the Chief Justice made that commitment, and you have seen that the presidential hopefuls who went to court, the decisions have been with dispatch, and they are substantial. It's not that because they are doing them fast, they are compromising justice. It has happened for Indum's case, for Hassan Ayarge's case, and all the others that were pending, Kunedu and the rest, Dr. Edward Mahamas, of course, then culminating in the Supreme Court recently, and then they held as they did. This is the material that helps the judges to do a faster job.
Okay.
Whilst the elections are going on, like you ask, things may come up. If they do, it is good to dispense with them with dispatch without compromising justice. After the elections, there may be petitions, parliamentary petitions, not only presidential, parliamentary petitions. They will be dealt with here. The candidates involved, they will read and get to know how they are supposed to come to the court. As a parliamentarian, if there are issues, you know how to approach it. So the parties will get to know, their supporters will get to know, and all of us, media people, the voters, more importantly, will get to know all our rights and responsibilities. So we'll stick to them.
Gifty, somebody's asking. In fact, he's not even asking. He says, I want the book. Where can I get it?
The book will be available after the launch at the Judicial Service, the Judicial Reforms and Projects Directorate. It will be there in their volumes, and we will encourage those who need it to come over, sign for a copy, and go and use it.
So this is not going to be on sale?
No.
Okay.
No, it's
but what
absolutely free.
it probably cost a lot to put this together, the Judicial Service.
It did.
So how much did it cost us to produce this?
The British DFID supported us to put this document together. And so we have been heavily supported by the UK aid, that's the Department for International Development, who has not just supported us to put this book together, but to also train our judges and the staff who are going to use this book, and to bring together other stakeholders to deliberate on the content of this book. So it's a whole project that is being supported by British DFID.
Okay, all right, that's good news. But Samson, perhaps a lot of us didn't pay attention to all the legal cases in the previous election. But maybe after the Supreme Court hearing, after the last election, a lot of people are beginning to pay attention to the legal stuff that go to courts. How different is what has happened previously and then this particular year's? I mean, you're a lawyer, so you would be tracking what happened back in 2012.
Okay, what I'll say is I'd like to invite everybody to the Accra International Conference Center, to the Accra International Conference Center tomorrow at 2 p.m. Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, will be there. Supreme Court Justices will be there. And the side attraction to the question you have asked.
Yeah.
The eminent persons who put this together will be there. Dr. S.Y. Bimpombuta will take you through some of the questions you are asking, for example. And when I mentioned Dr. S.Y. Bimpombuta, that is such a huge colossus when we talk about constitutional law in this country. When I mention, say, Professor Kofi Kumado, I'm talking about a point where you get and you need no further explanation on your constitutional questions. And these people will be there and they will take us through the rationale for some of the provisions and everything that you find here, particularly where you also have interest about the ADR, how to resolve the matters even before they get to court. They would help us to understand all of this so that we can all play our parts, no matter how small, to ensure that these elections, as we have always done, will go on smoothly, as the Chief Justice and the Judicial Service has continued to pledge to assist to do. And this is part of their role, and to also give the indication that they are unwavering in, that's the Judicial Service, in their part in making sure that we keep this nation together as a beacon of democracy that is envied by our peers and even by some of the nations that are so developed, that have done 200 years plus in their democratic practice. There are things that are happening in the US today that you ask yourself, will they happen in Ghana? Yeah. Because things have happened that don't happen in Ghana, right, as regards their elections. So I would say, everybody,
it should be at the conference center.
Find your way at the Accra International Conference Center, 2 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday.
Okay.
And get the flesh to what you find in this manual.
Okay.
It is important for me, the voter knowing their rights, which are spelled out here. The voter knowing the do's and don'ts, particularly on election day. If you wanted to do anything that suggests like you are convincing somebody on election day, how many parameters can you not do that on election day? At the polling station, there's supposed to be a certain limit, distance that you're supposed to be away from the polling station to be able to do that. You need to know that.
But is all the things that you're saying right now not also contained in CI 94?
So that's what I'm saying. CI 91, CI 94, all the new things, including the changes that happened to CI 74, okay? The representation of the people law, which is the most critical central law of elections in Ghana, okay? Taken care of here. As we speak, people are going about making songs, mounting platforms and saying things. If you say things that are false about a candidate, that seek to malign them, okay, that seek to affect people in a way to achieve preventing people from voting for them, people may not know. But if you do that, and your intention is to get people away from voting for those people,
they can take you on.
Let me just read. It's not they can take you on. You see, originally and naturally by our laws, they can take you on by way of a suit, a civil suit, which is by way of a defamation suit, which they have to pay lawyers to go to court and do. Now, if you do that, they don't need to pay any lawyer, according to the law. In section 39, and this is in the handbook, and that's why you need it, the manual. Section 39, offenses of publication of false statements. And I'm referring to the PNDC law 284. It says that a person commits an election offense if he, A, before or during an election, for the purpose of effecting or preventing the election of a candidate, makes or publishes or causes to be made or published by words, whether written or spoken, or by song, a statement which is false, or which that person knows or has reason to believe is false, in relation to the personal character of another person or a political party, for the purpose of effecting or preventing the election of another candidate or the conduct of a political party, you have committed an offense. You could be punished by being made to pay through the conviction, being made to pay a fine of 6,000 Ghana cedis. You could pay 6,000 and go to jail for 2 years in addition.
Wow.
Yes, and then it doesn't stop there. You will now get to be disqualified from being registered and voting for 5 years.
Wow.
Similar voting election offenses are captured here. So people need to know these
This
things.
is very useful.
Come to the Accra International Conference Center
Tomorrow at 2 p.m. But what, okay, I won't say it, I won't say it, I won't say it. I was just going to say, may somebody do it to your news file. Getty, so we should be there 2 p.m. at the Accra International Conference Center.
Yes.
Something has named all the big people who will be there, but the Chief Justice herself will be there as well.
Yes, she'll be there.
Okay. Yes. All right, so what more can I say? We'll see you at 2 p.m. at the conference center. But you said any person at all who is interested in this can be there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a walk-in.
All right.
Just walk in and come and join us to launch this national document for election adjudication in Ghana.
Okay.
Yes,
All
we'll
right.
be expecting everybody.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Gifty Prekonyako is Acting Deputy Director, Judicial Reforms and Projects with the Judicial Service of Ghana. And Samson is our own Samson Laddie Ayedene. We hope that you enjoy the session and that you'll be there 2 p.m. tomorrow at the Accra International Conference Center for the launch of this manual, which is really important, by the way. But what we'll be doing after the launch is to serialize some portions of the book, which will be very useful on election day or maybe the days before the election as well, so that we can all be on the same page, educate ourselves. Stay with us. We still have a conversation. Benis Abu-Beidu is on standby at the Circle Interchange. We want to see the interchange the morning after the big inauguration, but we've also got a conversation that we started yesterday. We want to get a lot of women in leadership positions here in Ghana, but we know that it will be more effective if we get them involved in the political processes as well. So that's why we have these conversations in the coming days. We want to talk to our women who are also fighting, wanting to go to Parliament. What are the challenges? What are the difficulties? Would you vote for them simply because they are women, even if you're a woman, or there's something more to them that we all need to know? Stay with us.